Hi, Michael. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to Perception.
Thank you so much. I am honestly pumped to be here.
Thank you. Before we get into it, I really wanted our readers and listeners to get to know you and to experience everything that Michael is, the way
Mm,
I found you the first time and I experienced your writing and then also your conversations. So for everybody, Michael is coach, and I want to say the way I want to for people to know Michael is that he is a coach, he's a golden handcuff breaker, he's a
mm.
renovator, he is a lot of things to a lot of people. And as I wanted to summarize Michael a bit, who you are, I was like, Michael is a person who helps others get clean on what they want to do with their lives, with their
Mm.
work, with their relationships, and just go to the next step. But over to you. Introduce yourself, please.
Oh, well, that was beautifully done. Thank you. Yeah, so my name is Michael Bolognino, and like you said, I am a coach. And what I mean by coaching is something that I've really learned about, like how to talk about over the last couple of years. But what I've come to is that I help people who have found success or what they thought they wanted. They got it, they got there, and they realized along the way something got lost. Something got lost in that push, in that desire to achieve what they thought they wanted. And the work that we do is I help them come back to themselves. I help them dust off whatever got uncovered and then use the career they've built as the kind of tool and the foundation to help them actually go get what they want. So that's what I think I do. And the reason that I think I'm qualified to do that is because I've done that myself in a couple of different ways that hopefully we'll get into. But there's context there is that I worked in tech for 20 years, and my last job in tech, I worked at Google for 13 years. And in that process of kind of making it and working at the best place to work and having my own reckoning with how unhappy I was and how unsatisfied I was, that was the birth of not only like my career change, but also me helping other people do the same thing.
I love that. And, that was the first thing that caught my attention when I was looking to find a coach for myself. I
Mm,
wanted someone who has done it, who has experienced all the flavors of going after your goals, after your ambitions, whatever format
mm,
that would take for
mm,
every person. So
yeah.
for me, that was such a good selling point because I was like, he would get everything that I
Mm,
talk about. So
nice. Well, and I want to add a clarification to that, which is I'm not in the business of helping people quit their jobs. That might be one outcome, but there's a really powerful path to find a healthier way to stay in your job and create the life that you want from there. So it's interesting because I think some people think the end result is always a rupture or resigning, and that's just not the case. And I think that that's something I want more people to know because there's a lot of ways, there's a lot of possibilities for how to go get what you want out of your life.
I agree with that. I also think
Yeah.
you were ahead of time for a
Mm.
couple of years minimum of predicting a lot of things people are going to experience. I'm going to call it like identity crisis
Mm.
that millennials especially are having right now with
Yeah.
lives. And I think you were ahead of time. And I'm not sure what that feels when you are ahead and others are still need to catch up. What that feels being on the other side and being like, you guys have so much to learn.
Well, I can relate to them. I can relate because, the sad reality is that the way I figured it out was by crashing. Like I didn't have the resources, I didn't have the intuition to recognize what I was experiencing. It wasn't until things started falling apart, my health, my relationships, I was so stuck. And so out of that, a light bulb went off, but it was a brutal path to get there. So I might have been ahead, but I got there in a similar way. And my hope is that in your work and in my work, we can help people avoid that meltdown and come closer to themselves before they get to that point.
I love that. I agree with
Mm,
you fully.
mhm, mhm.
Okay, today's topics. I know we will give so much for people to sit with. I'm sure of it. But before we get to like main topic, which is to get to know you, your taste, your references. That's something that I'm very inclined to
Mm,
share with people because you can Google or you can ChatGPT everything, but it will
mm,
give you very, synthetic information of like very general information. And
mhm,
my goal is for people to have some nuggets that are coming from Michael,
Mm.
and then to go to the rabbit hole with whatever they would do with that. So that this is like very curated for themselves, that they found and they figured out. That's like my goal.
Awesome. Okay.
Before we get into the questions, I have some what we call perceptual quick hits in my team.
Okay.
Just quick questions to get to know you. Don't overthink it, please.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Are you a morning person or a night person?
Oof. I'm right in the middle. I can do both. If I wake up at 4 because I can't sleep, I love getting up and making my iced coffee when it's dark. I also love staying up late and writing or zoning out, like playing my word games. So I'm both.
I love that. Do you love to cook or to be cooked for?
Cook, 100% cook.
You're Italian, right?
I am 100% Italian also. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yes.
Yep.
Film photography.
Oh, that's a good one. Photography.
Okay, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Museum or concert?
Oh, concert, 100%. Yeah, I hesitated, but no, nothing beats a concert. What experiencing music collectively, the best.
I know, same.
Mm,
I love museums as well, but like concert is
yeah,
also a different experience. Okay,
totally.
seaside or city?
Seaside.
Okay, nice.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Vintage or new?
Vintage. We'll talk about that. All my answers are vintage, but yes.
I love that. Please, let's talk about that, because I have this. I admire people who can figure out vintage in the
Mm,
real sense of it. I haven't yet. And I have this idea of like, there is something very intimate and important to be the first owner of a thing. And let's see if you can change that in this
Oh,
class.
I'm up for that challenge. I am up for that. Okay. Yes.
Reader or watcher?
Reader.
Okay. Yes. Same.
Mm,
And early to the trend or late and unbothered?
early.
Yes.
Mm.
Being a witness of that.
Well,
Yes.
okay, wait. I have to make a caveat.
Yes.
I'm kind of anti-trend. So when I said early, what I actually mean is I think I'm always creating and evolving my style and my personal style, what I'm surrounded with. So I don't see it as a trend. It's interesting sometimes if it becomes a trend. And honestly, it loses some value for me if it does. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. So you kind of, you get it first, but then you are hating it because you're like, everybody's doing it. This is getting out of hand. It doesn't look great.
Yeah, that's true. Like I'd rather it be mine as much as possible.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get into it then.
Okay.
Okay. How would you describe your taste, and
Hmm.
how do you think other people describe it when they think about Michael's taste?
Okay, so the way I would describe it, I'd say it's bold and restrained at the same time. And that's important to me, the restraint part, because there's a balance. And it's very interesting when you think about like taste and what balance, like how do you know what the line is as a person? Like it's hard to communicate or explain, but I need to be in balance all the time. So like, for example, today when I was thinking about what to wear, I wanted to wear a bright yellow shirt. This yellow is my color. It's my favorite color. It's a symbol to me when I see it in the world. And then I also chose to wear this vintage snake bolo. And then I thought about wearing earrings, but that's too much. Like I can't. The balance starts to skew if I've got big earrings, this big bolo, and the yellow shirt. So I'm always trying to be in balance, I would say. And I'd say also it's always evolving. My taste is always evolving. Kind of like I said, either it's not only that something becomes trendy, but I also change, and things that I thought were so interesting to me, kind of fade. And then what other people would say, I think they would say probably eclectic. One time I was at a bar in San Francisco having a drink by myself, and this guy walked past me and he looked me up and down and he said, cute, weird, cute. And that's kind of become my mantra, cute, weird, cute. Like that's what he said. And so I have taken that on as how I talk about my style, my taste.
I love that. I also feel like weird is such a good word, where we are
Yeah,
like a negative connotation, but it's a good word.
yeah. Weird. I'm drawn to weird, and I think you can own weird. Weird doesn't have to mean like powerless. Weird can be empowered.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about the restraint part, if possible? Because I w-
Yeah.
I want it to be for people who would listen to this or read us, how that looks like in practice. When I get the earring part, you are like, it would be too much, but then how you decide between earring and the brush,
Yeah,
like.
it's a good question. Again, there's something that's just innate. There's something that's inside. Like I don't have a formula, I don't have a rule about it. And I think it's the filter I use is I'm never trying to be too much for the sake of being too much. And that's pretty clear to me. Like and what I mean by that is when I think about how I want to be perceived, I don't want to be perceived as, oh, that like 47-year-old guy who is a kooky, who wears like clashing. I'm not dressing just to clash. I guess that's what I mean. Like it's never about maximalism for me. That's important. Same with my house. Like my house is spacious, but it's restrained. Each room has its own intentionality. So like in here, everything's white and wood. That's it. And there's some plants, and that kind of makes up this formula for this specific room. But then there's another room that's like very pink and gold, and but again, there's a rhythm. It's the
Mhm.
only way I can explain it. But I think, just to reiterate, I'm not trying to shock, and I'm not trying to be a maximalist. I'm just trying to ask myself, how does this feel? What do I want to feel like today? And what do I want to put out into the world? And then that combination gets created.
I love that. To me, to be honest, I think you are such a great storyteller.
Hmm.
When it comes to your appearance, how you go through life, when you are just putting yourself together, but also
Hmm.
your website, the way you talk about things on any platform that I'm following you on. There is
Hmm.
always maybe it's not visible, but there is a cohesive story. There is like a connective tissue
Oh, wow.
with everything. So I think that's
Hmm.
also like a testament to your taste of how you are putting this whole world building of Michael together.
Thank you. Well, and I appreciate that so much. And I think it makes me think about another filter, which is that I'm never trying to be anybody else ever. And in the coaching world, which, you know, there's all flavors of coaches, but there seems to be this manual that was given out at one time where a coaching website has some requirements. Like there has to be a picture of you smiling really big or with your laptop or with a coffee mug. And again, that's all fine, but
Mhm.
that's not how I operate. That's not how I show up in the world. And so I like another kind of concept that I have is to, as much as I can, exclusively be myself and not try to follow some other recipe. And speaking of recipe, it also, it's not just my writing, but also how I cook. Like I talked about cooking, right? Recipes are useful for me to a certain point. They're kind of like a sketch. I like to cook like I like to live, which is also how I like to write, which is also how I like to coach, which is I've got a recipe, some education, some
Yeah.
structure. I also have my life experience. And then I take a bit of this, I take a bit of that, I take a bit of intuition, I put it together and it tastes good.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't taste good and I adjust it. So that methodology is how I like to think about, I think, taste and expression in general.
I love that. I'm with you, by the way, on recipes. I'm
Hmm.
like, don't tell me how many cups of whatever I need.
Yeah.
I need to do my thing. Just tell me the.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then you learn how to replicate that, or how to make it your own as you practice. And I just think it's such a beautiful metaphor for life too.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, up to our next question. I really
Yes.
want to know, what have you been obsessed with lately? And
Uh-huh.
there are two reasons I need to know. One is obvious, I'm just curious, but also, if you are obsessed with it now, probably people will catch up in a couple of years. So tell us, tell us something from the future.
Well, I think it's happening in real time, but I am obsessed with thrifting. And I mentioned vintage, but I'm obsessed with thrifting, meaning I go to the thrift store multiple times a week. I'm basically a regular. I look forward to it. Like I'm a swimmer and I swim about 4 days a week. And literally as I'm swimming, I think I get to go to Goodwill after this. I get to go treasure hunting. I am obsessed with it because, first of all, it's it's a way to reuse what's already out there. And that's really important. There's so many treasures in the world, both interesting treasures and useful treasures. So when I go thrifting, it's a combination of beautiful things. Like right now, I'm collecting any pairs of glassware, very interesting glassware, green glass, colored glass. And I've replaced all of my singular like wine glasses and drinking glasses with all these different pairs that I've collected. And I love it. And I love the hunt, and I love getting in there and, finding the glass over here. And then on this shelf over there, there's its sister. Like I love that. So there's the kind of like beauty collecting part. But then there's also the functional part. Like sometimes if I need something for my house, I'll go to Goodwill to get it. And that to me feels good, both because of the hunt and because it serves a purpose for me. So the answer to this question by far is thrifting. And I think in the economy we live in and in the world of fast fashion and fast furniture, I do think more and more people are going to start turning to thrifting because things are just better made. I just bought a pair of new pants for a trip, and they look nice, but the material feels so thin. And I'm just so spoiled because when I go thrifting, it's like single stitch t-shirts, or it's just quality material. Before it was all about mass production. And it's both important and beautiful to me.
Yeah, that's so interesting to hear. And I think there is also most probably a level of uniqueness that is coming because, even
Totally.
maybe this is not just this one object in the world, but there is
Mhm.
a chance that not a lot has been left.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
you are one of the owners of something very rare at this point.
Yeah. Is that starting to chip away at your beliefs? Okay, good.
Yes, you're getting there.
Okay, I'm gonna really nail it right now. Okay. So not only that, but if you find something unique that you love, you can get more of it. So for example, eBay is a huge obsession of mine. Every morning I get, no joke, 50 emails from eBay. I have watch lists, okay? And the watch lists are things that I love. So for example, say this shirt, which it's true, it's one of my favorites, right? I can plug in the brand and the size, and every morning, literally every morning, I get an email that's like, here is what is available in that brand and that size. So if you have a favorite pair of jeans, a favorite pair of sneakers, a favorite pair of, or a discontinued cologne, that's something else I've done. Like I love this cologne from Comme des Garçons called Dover Street Market, and they stopped making it, but I could get it expensively on eBay. So it's a great extension of my treasure hunting desire, and it helps me get more of what I like, and I know the quality,
Yes.
so I'm a huge fan of eBay also.
Okay, we're 20 minutes in, and you are already making a case for me to just go very effective. Everybody who is hearing, this is what coaching looks like. And
Ah,
he's not even trying. He's just he's just in a podcast.
good.
Okay, I also wanted to know something, which is what is the first thing you remember loving that no one around you understood?
Yeah, that's a good question. My first answer would be boys, but I don't.
I love that.
Yeah, but we'll save that for a different podcast. It comes back to vintage fashion again. I have to say. So in high school, I was experimental with my fashion. I was both very scared of being different, but I was just dying to be different. So it was
Mhm.
this interesting tension that I had because as a gay kid who wasn't out in a school where it wasn't safe, or even a community where it wasn't safe, my biggest goal was to blend in, right? Get good grades, look the same as everybody, right? But I had this burning desire to express myself, and so one example is that my dad had these high heel fry boots from the 70s, and I loved them. I didn't know why, but I loved them. And they were just sat in his closet for 20 years. And so I put them on one day, and I made the mistake of wearing them to school without a backup pair of shoes.
No.
And the reason it was a mistake is not because I got made fun of, which I did, but the reason it was a mistake is because the wooden heels were so loud in the hallways of school that it was so embarrassing because I couldn't walk without being loud. And so it kind of pushed me back into the closet of expressing myself because I was mortified. So I guess my point there is I always knew I liked oddities or things that weren't kind of the cultural moment, and that was one example.
I love that though. I can picture little Michael at the school already understanding what just happened, and he's like,
Yeah,
"Well, I have to live with this whole day."
that's right. That's right. Why did I not bring gym shoes? Why? Yeah.
Uh, okay, what is now when we're thinking about it present? What's something that you own, watch, or listen to that would genuinely surprise people who think they know you?
Okay. Well, this is getting more and more out of the bag now, but I'm a huge fan of Mariah Carey. I mean, I am a humongous fan, not only as an artist, but as a writer, as a lyricist. She is brilliant. A lot of people think of her as Christmas, or they think of her as this person that had an amazing voice that can't sing anymore. None of those are true. She can still sing. She writes basically all of her songs, unless they're a cover. She has more hits than anybody, and she can sing, and she's funny. And I am so into her. And there's like a two parts to this. The other part, which I've not revealed publicly yet, is that for fun, sometimes on TikTok, I do like lip syncs to Mariah Carey songs just
No,
for fun. Yeah. So that's truly something that someone would be genuinely surprised, because I don't even really tell my friends about that. Like some of them know, but that's the truth. And it's fun. I do it for fun. It's just fun.
that's so good. You will let me know if you want us to link to that or not. Wait,
I
because
don't know.
but one thing about Mariah Carey that I love I'm
Yeah.
obviously a huge fan of the music and everything. But now there is one thing that I noticed that I'm loving about her and a lot of people in her generation, which is not over explaining themselves, their process,
Ooh, good point.
the work, and they're like, this is it. Love it,
Mm,
hate it. I'm not going to explain you. I'm not going to give you a backstory of like 10 page of
yes.
how I came up with this. And I think we're doing so much over explaining. I'm like, that's such
Mm,
a move of like, this is it. I'm not
yeah.
else.
That is such a good point. And I think that is a lesson for all of us to try to learn, like cultivating the confidence in our craft or in ourselves to put things out into the world and believe in them. Like that's not easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I
I love that observation.
thank you. Okay.
Mm,
One other thing
yeah.
that I wanted to ask you is, and I think you will have a lot of ideas and opinions about this, which is what is the most common piece of advice in your field that you think is just wrong?
Great question. I think I'll tweak it a little. I don't know if it's advice, but there's this perceived threat that AI is going to replace coaches.
Hmm.
That's something that I see a lot of coaches really scared about and freaking out about, which I understand. But I actually don't think that that is true. I think that there are useful applications of how AI can be used. But I think, again, like this ties into what we've been talking about this whole time. AI can't deliver an authentic human experience. It just can't. And as far as I can understand and predict, it won't ever be able to. And so, when coaches have this belief, what it reminds me of is when I left Google and became a coach. It seemed like after that, everyone and their mother left Google and became a coach, and I was like, who's like, how is this gonna work if we're all these ex Googler coaches? And then I realized the person that hires me is not the person that hires that person, and it's
Yeah.
not the person that hires that person. And I feel the same way about AI. When people hire a coach, they're hiring the person, I believe, and those are the clients that I want to work with. I want people to work with me because they see something that they can reflect back into themselves, or something that they want, or that they can't articulate yet. I want that, and I just don't know how AI or any kind of machine can deliver that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Even like, as a person who always s- is seeking to get other people's perspectives, whether it's
Mm,
their professional services or just through conversation or something, I do believe there is a lot also in poses, right? When you are seeing your
mm,
coach, how they're reacting to the thing you are telling
mm,
them,
totally.
the poses, the
Hmm.
"Hmm," or are you sure about this? Obviously, you can set up something in ChatGPT or a Gemini or Claude that could
Mm,
play that role, but it's very synthetic. They are really
yeah.
not there. They are just giving you a statistical best answer in the moment, and I
Yeah.
don't think any of us is the statistically best answer person when we are looking for an figuring ourselves out. in a sense.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I totally agree with that. Yes.
I love that. And what I hear in what you're saying is that instinct is something that's hard to train a machine on.
Yeah.
And I think what we're talking about today in general is instinct.
Yeah.
And I think instinct is what allows the way a coach receives a client. That's what allows it to come through in an expression or in a pose or in a question. And that instinct is something that is really hard to train, whether we're talking about a human or an.
Yeah.
So I love the way you articulated that. And I think it really is about instinct.
Yeah.
And that's a power. I think it's a power. And I want to believe humans are attracted to instinct
Yeah.
over machine.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens.
We'll have to see, but I totally agree with that. I mean, you know, let's go back to like cuisine because we are both are cooks. When you go to like a nice Italian restaurant and they're
Mm.
like, our pasta is handmade,
Hmm.
there is always a difference between handmade and non-handmade.
Yes.
They
Good
will
point.
taste good,
Yeah.
but there is always a difference. And I think the difference is what a lot of people are looking for when they're like, I need a person to sit with me
Mm.
and just struggle with me as I'm getting to the answer that
Yes.
for me.
Yes. Fresh pasta as a metaphor for coaching. 100%. Yes. Yep.
Okay, that's good. Okay. I
All
also want
right.
to, as we started with like the wrong piece of advice in your field,
Ah.
also wanted to ask you something about, in general, in culture, what's something that you see that people are talking about, but for wrong reasons. You are like, no, no, no,
Mm.
that's not that.
Well, that's such an interesting question, and I have two ways of answering that. One is on the kind of social media and culture side. The other is on the kind of coachy side. Which way do you want me to go?
Both ways go.
Both ways. Okay. And again, I don't know if this is answering your question, but something I've observed is that in our culture, we have so many gurus and self-help books and people creating content, which is a great thing. I also notice that some of the people who I think struggle the most are the ones who consume and share this content. And what I notice is that, and this is just kind of like an instinct.
Mhm.
It's one thing to share quotes that mean something to you, or astrology or tarot. I believe in all those things. It's one thing to share those things over and over. It's another to like tune into yourself and really understand, like, what does it mean to you that you're sharing this, and like
Yes.
how are you going to embody that? How are you going to think about it? How are you going to borrow from it? Versus, it's almost like regurgitation is too strong of a word, but it's kind of like this thing that someone might want. They take it in and regurgitate it out as a way, I think, of expressing that it's important to them and sharing it. But I wonder if like the nutrients don't get absorbed if it's coming in and out.
Yeah.
So, and I do think that's cultural because I see that on social media. Like I see people who often are sharing these inspirational quotes, and it always perks up my curiosity.
Mhm. Yeah. What you're saying, what I'm hearing from you is there is abundance of content and information and good advice online, but are we
Hmm.
digesting? Are we even
Yeah,
like sitting with it?
that. Yes,
Yeah.
right, exactly. And I think it's a good clue. Like I think a lot of what I do in my work is I look for information that comes out in people's answers and behaviors, and I think there's information. If you find yourself gravitating towards answers from astrology or from Mel Robbins or whatever, there's information there. There's a yearning that you have. There's a question that you have. There's something that might be missing. And I think it's such a great tool to use that information to get curious with yourself.
Mm, that's a good one. Yeah. Yeah. It made me think about that as well of like, also like just taking it so easy just because something is available. We're not
Mm,
valuing it too much to even
hmm.
with it. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the beauty is that leads to my other answer. So I
Yeah.
had two answers. The other answer is fast fashion and fast furniture
Yeah.
and fetishizing buying. Like, ugh, like these hauls that these creators do. No, I
I,
mean, no offense, but also the signal that it sends. Like I just saw on TikTok, the Welsh Five show up on my feed. Do you know who they are? It's
Uh,
this group of friends from Wales, and they
oh,
they travel and stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
and they're great. Like they're entertaining and whatever. But one of them posted this video where his garden had gotten totally overgrown. Like maybe a year ago, he redid his whole garden, bought all this furniture, put in all these lights, and it literally went to hell. And then this next video, instead of kind of addressing that and dealing with it, he just ripped everything out, threw away all the furniture and everything that he bought, and then went and took us to the store. So he just put all these new chairs and all these new everything, all this new crap in his bag, and then put that out. And I just think that that's very symbolic, I think, also of what we're talking about. And
Mhm.
so, there's another way to go about that. Like you can clean up and reuse the furniture that you already have, ideally if it's well made.
Yeah.
So there's something in there also to this idea of culture. And I just think also that like this act of fetishizing buying, I think is dangerous because not everyone has access to money that some of these influencers have. And I think it perpetuates waste, and it perpetuates comparison, and it perpetuates debt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree with that. I follow this woman. I think she's based out of UK, and I'm gonna find her name and we'll put this into the notes. What she's doing, and I love this idea. She says that you need to curate, let's say, 5 things you are going to buy this year, and
Mm, mm,
be very strategic about it. Not buy
mm.
everything, not go for trends to buy it,
Yeah.
even spend a bit more per item. But that's like another way of like restraining yourself of you can't just buy everything you see. I love
Mm,
type of like new influencers who are trying to put a bit of like anti-consumption narrative out there. But what you are describing is more popular. So yeah, I
mm.
totally get that. Yeah.
I love that there are other counter influencers who are helping people understand other ways to buy and other ways to collect. So that's great.
Yes. Okay. Back to you. Tell me
Yeah.
something that you made where the process completely surprised you, where it
Mm,
went somewhere you didn't expect, something you learned about yourself. And I know you have
hmm
probably 10 stories because in one lifetime you lived already 9 lives, but give me 10
I
of the
am
stories.
very cat like. Yes. Okay. So the one that comes to mind is my house project. And so, for some context, 10 years ago, actually, this year, my husband and I were visiting a friend of his from high school in this area in the Berkshires. And, as you do, we would look at Zillow just for fantasy. And we saw this house, and it was massive, it was falling down, and it was expensive. And we couldn't stop thinking about it. So on New Year's Day, we came up here and we just called the real estate agency. A random agent brought us and took us in. And I remember I walked into this house, and I remember so clearly thinking, I have no idea how this is going to get done, but this is going to get done and it's going to be good. And that feeling I've experienced in my life a few times. And so I knew I had to move towards it. So basically, we negotiated until we got the house for a total steal. I mean, it literally needed everything from all new plumbing and electrical to a roof to basically gutting. Raccoons had moved in because it was vacant for 4 years. So we were able to get the price down low. And then all of a sudden we had the keys. It was July 1st. We had the keys of this house, and we looked at each other, my husband and I. We weren't married yet.
Oh
It was
my
a year and a half into our relationship. And we were like, all right, let's figure this out. And so every Thursday night we would drive up from Brooklyn. We couldn't stay here because it had no utilities. So we would do as much work as we could on Fridays. We'd stay at my parents' house in Albany. And then we'd come back on Saturday and come back on Sunday and drive to the city. And we did that for 2 years until this project was done. And we had help. We had a contractor, but we had this agreement where anything that didn't require a permit, we would do. So sheetrock, demo, all
oh
kinds of things. We even did the floors ourselves. So all of that to say, there was an outcome that was great, which was that we had this beautiful house. But that's not the surprise element. The surprise element was how it served me and how it served my husband. So it served me because this was when I was at Google, and I was at the kind of midpoint of that crash, feeling like I was working at this amazing place, but I was miserable. And doing this project, getting my hands on something, using all the skills I was using in marketing and project management, on myself, like it gave me this escape. It gave me something to create. It gave me a project to do on the side, and it actually helped me feel better about working at Google. Because I
Mhm.
was satisfied, and I think
Yeah.
that was the first point in my life where I realized that passion doesn't have to come from work. It can, but work can actually enable passion. So that was a huge light bulb for me. And it honestly led me to coaching because that was the first kind of crack in this idea that, oh, there's another way I can do this. And I want to say it ties into what I said at the top of this call, which is that I didn't have to blow up my career. I stayed at Google and I did it on the side. I made room for it and it made my work at Google better. Okay. That's me. The other surprise is that my husband, we knew he was creative. He had a background in marketing and social media marketing. And he also got a training in horticultural design. So he was a garden designer. He left his marketing career and he was doing garden design in the city. And so we got our house finished and we have a beautiful, it was a very wild, but we have a beautiful yard. And he had done a bunch of gardening. And he was so excited when we were done. We got an article in Architectural Digest. And he thought, oh, my gardening business is going to get all this press. And it turns out people were more interested in him as a designer. And from an interior designer, and from that little nugget, it's not little, but from that kind of opening, a whole career was born. And so now for 9 years, he has founded and led his own interior and garden design business. And he does a mix of interior design and garden design. And I mean, he's so talented at it. Our house is amazing. And it's not all, but almost entirely because of him and his vision. And it, so to summarize, it was a beautiful surprise to see what this could become for him and for both of us in a way that wasn't just about the house.
Mm, it's so interesting. It's like this house just opened two very new pathways for you guys to, for
Hmm.
each of you, not only like
Yeah.
collectively as a couple, but it's
Yeah.
so interesting. And because you mentioned both you and him kind of worked in different parts of like digital world,
Yeah.
I also think there is something so magical what you are saying because we are not used to do we're not used to bring work to physical life. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm. I
everything
do.
is in digital world.
Yeah.
So I think that's so interesting that you literally put a house together. Not
Yeah.
like a thing. It's not a project. It's a whole house.
It's a whole house.
That's so cool.
Well, and there were other surprises and useful elements. So the house, originally our plan was to come up when we could and rent it on Airbnb, and we did that for a couple of years until the pandemic, and then we moved here full time. But we still rent it, and we also rent it for photo shoots. And the reason that's important is because the revenue that we get from the place we live is one of the levers that allows us to live the life that we want. So it's that stream of income plus my coaching income plus my husband's income that makes all this possible. And I think that's another important learning that I discovered, which was that it doesn't all have to come from one source. And in fact, I much prefer different ways of making money, different levers to pull.
That's a good one. I put this post together this week that we're in, which was about like four new identities that are emerging, and
Mm,
for one of them is what I called free agent, which is everybody who has like portfolio careers, people who don't want to have like one niche direction in
mm,
their lives. And again, you guys were so ahead of everybody because that's something that is just picking up, but obviously there are a lot of people who have been doing this for a while, so
mm.
good for you. It's so
Hey, thank you. I have to say, like, what I would say to people out there listening is if you ever hear that voice of, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I know it's going to be good. Like, if you ever hear that, listen to it. Because it was a crazy idea that we would buy this 4,500 square foot house that was falling down. We
yeah.
both had full time jobs. How the hell would we do it? We didn't have a ton of money,
Hmm.
but I heard that. And I heard the voice with coaching too. I mean, I heard that same exact thing. I don't know how this is going to work, but I know it's going to be good. I heard that years ago. And so if there's one thing people can take away from this, is to listen to that voice when you hear it and go towards it, even if you don't understand it.
Okay, Michael, you are giving me so much. We're recording this on Friday. I will think about this whole weekend, I promise you. What do you believe about your work 5 years ago that you would now argue against?
Mm, it's a great one. 5 years ago, I thought all my clients would be tech marketers. That's what I thought. And thank God they're not, because how boring would it be if I only worked with one kind of person? The magic of these last 5 years is that I've worked with all kinds of people. I've worked with an opera director. I have worked with a Olympian skateboarder, like one of the first female Olympian skateboarders. I
Wow.
have worked with a veterinarian, an attorney, a wedding photographer, and of course, lots of people in tech or creative agencies or artists. But that is the magic, is that I don't have to just serve one kind of person. I serve humans. And that is the fact that I make money serving humans is the best possible way I could imagine making money.
That's so beautiful. Okay, one last thing for about Michael, and I promise you I'm not gonna ask too many questions, which is if someone went through your phone or
Yeah.
your shelves, whatever your thing is, your search history, what
Mm.
argument would they make about who you are?
Okay. They would say probably I'm fluid, I'm open minded, I'm obsessed with music, I'm obsessed with eBay, I'm neurotic, and surprising.
Okay, that's nice. I know you worked in marketing way in, uh, in your years when you were in tech.
Hmm.
I think every marketeer in that sense has such broad interest
Mm.
kind of area.
Mm.
Like nobody can figure out what the search history is, other than probably another marketer would be like, "It makes sense. It makes sense. What is?"
Yeah, yeah, totally.
But I
Mm.
also wanted to kind of end this on something a bit broader, which is there a version of your taste that hasn't made it into your work yet, whether it's being a renovator, being a coach, or
Oh,
everything else? Something you love really dearly, but you haven't figured out how to use this.
such a good question and such a prescient question, because I'm about to relaunch my website in September. And I'm thinking about this a lot. If I am standing here telling you that bringing my most authentic self to my writing, to how I express myself, and to my coaching is a core value of mine, there's room in there for me to be even more myself. And so to answer that question, there's a few ways. Like, one thing I'm thinking about is adding an inspirations section to my website. Like, who are the people? What are the things that inspire me? Because I want people to see my passion or my oddity. Like, I'll read you the list. I have it right here. There's a bunch of people. So one thing that I want to do is I want to add a new section to my website called Things That Inspire Me. And I think that's kind of a non-traditional thing to see on a coach's website, but I want people to understand like what's in my brain and what I'm drawn towards, because again, if they can see themselves in that, or they have their own version of that, they're going to understand me a little bit better. So on my site, on my page for people or things that inspire me, is everyone from Pee Wee Herman to Elsa Schiaparelli to Bjork
Yeah.
to tarot cards, like design, to Rossi de Palma or Pedro Almodovar. Like, that's the ecosystem of my brain. And I want people to see that. I think music is something that I could use more in my coaching. I have sent playlists to clients and I have sent songs to clients, but I don't do it regularly or intentionally. And I think that could be interesting. But I think, to answer the question, I want to start showing up in the world and on my website more like who I feel like authentically. So you're going to see photos of me that are not your everyday coach photos. There's not going to be me on my laptop with a smile and a coffee cup. No, it's going to be me, the more artsy side of me, or the kind of like me expressing myself. So I just did a photo shoot, and it's interesting to see and like what that line is between what's intrigue, like what's showing myself and what's intriguing and what's intimidating, or what people might think is a mismatch, and like the clients I want are right in the middle.
Mm, I love that. And for the record, you have never been the average coach, so you don't
Oh, thank you.
you don't
Thank you
have
so much.
to say it.
Hey, I would be failing myself if I were, because that is so important to me. Like, in everything that I do, I have to be my own unique flower. You know?
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Michael. I'm sure
Yeah.
This is so much, not only new references, but also new perspective that a lot of people are going to discover for the first time. And I'm with them because when I first discovered you, I had the same of like, oh, wow, there is a whole other world out there.
Mm.
So I hope that they will get this from just one conversation that we just had. Thank you so much. This was a pleasure.
Thank you. It was a total pleasure for me. Thank you for like inspiring me to think about things in a different way and to slow down and reflect. It was really fun to answer these questions, and I'm going to be stewing on them too over the weekend. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Yeah, thank you.